The first original report from the Grenfell inquiry looked at the night of the fire itself, examining things like the fire brigade's actions, but it also found that combustible cladding was the principal reason the blaze spread so quickly. This second and final report, nearly 1,700 pages of it, is about how that came to be the case, and it paints a damning picture of failings at almost every possible point. We'll start with the companies that manufactured the cladding. The report found that they engaged in systematic dishonesty on behalf of those companies. There were three companies that supplied the cladding materials: Arconic, Celotex and Kingspan. We'll start with Arconic. It is an American firm. When it comes to the construction of this, they had a role in the cladding in terms of the outside. So this is where all the cladding was, all the way up Grenfell Tower. When it comes to how the panels were constructed, the cladding, Arconic made the panels on the outside, these thin aluminium sheets on the front of the cladding here. And the inquiry looked at their role and it found that the company had deliberately concealed from the market the true extent of the danger. Moving on to the next company, Celotex. They were also involved in the cladding as well in a slightly different way. They were looking after the insulation. We can see that rather than the front panels, which we were just talking about, Celotex were making this insulation that lay behind them. Again, according to the inquiry, Celotex embarked on a dishonest scheme to mislead its customers and the wider market. And finally, Kingspan. They also made some of the insulation in this tower, in that cladding. And the report found that from 2005 until after this inquiry had begun, Kingspan knowingly created a false market in insulation for use on buildings over 18 metres in height. Well, how did those companies manage to put out dangerous products on the market? The report says it was with the complicity of the Buildings Research Establishment, the BRE. It's supposed to be an independent tester, but it also got paid by those cladding companies to do the testing. And as a result, the inquiry found it had sacrificed a rigorous application of principle to its commercial interests. So if BRE and the cladding companies are doing all this, what is government doing at the same time? It's not holding them to account. This is what the inquiry found about the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea and its tenant management office. It found persistent indifference to fire safety, particularly the safety of vulnerable people. And that indifference went all the way up to the top of government. In particular, the report singled out the years from 2010 onwards, with what they called the government's deregulatory agenda, enthusiastically supported by some junior ministers and the Secretary of State, meaning that matters affecting the safety of life were ignored, delayed or disregarded. Failures on every rung of the ladder, on almost every page of this report. And that's why survivors and families of victims have said it wasn't a system that was broken, but one that was built that way.